Bring us in, babe.
Welcome to
Coco Caliente.
That made me laugh.
That was good, huh?
I didn't expect that.
Changing it up.
Well, today I'm super excited because we are having two Survivor girl kick-ass players. Okay, I said that backwards.
Two kick-ass Survivor players that are girls?
Yeah.
I don't know how to word that. Two girls that are awesome that did Survivor twice.
Yes, and okay, so I have some cool stats for you guys. So we're having Michele Fitzgerald and Natalie Anderson on. They were just in the final 3 for Winners at War Survivor Season 40, and it was something that was so exciting to watch. I think it was the best season ever.
Yeah, and I don't really watch reality TV, and I got sucked into that one. So if you didn't watch it, it's definitely worth the watch.
Yeah, and so, okay, Michele and Natalie, they're tied for the most challenges, both tribal and individual, won by a female winner with 13, which is super cool.
That is a lot.
And something else that they have in common, I love that we're having them both on the same episode. So this is really cool to me. I looked at some stats.
Nicole got excited.
Yeah, I did. Michele and Natalie are also the only 2 players to have reached the final tribal council every single time they competed.
That's cool. That is really neat.
I mean, isn't that awesome?
The odds that even happens once is, and they both won, too. So they're both winners on their previous season, and then they came back and then made the final tribal on their second season.
And Michele has actually, I think she's the only Survivor player to ever play multiple times and never get voted out.
Oh, wow.
So that's super cool. So right there, which Michele Fitzgerald's up first, and right there that her social game is freaking
on point.
Oh my gosh, to never get voted out, that's amazing. So, all right, enjoy this. I know I am.
Hello.
Hi, Michele.
Hello. Thank you, Michele, for being on Coco Caliente podcast.
We're so excited.
Yes, we are. The podcast.
I'm so I don't think I've met either of you guys before.
I don't think so but I feel like I kind of know you. I don't know how.
Because you were watching her on TV.
Yeah, but I think, I don't know. Maybe we did cross paths on something.
Spiritually. Through Instagram.
I don't know. I feel like, you know what? Our seasons were all on during the same time. My original season was right around your season. And Caleb was on my original season. So he got me a Big Brother. So I feel like I'm connected to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense. Okay, you're on a season with Caleb. That's it right there. That makes sense. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I thank you for coming to this podcast. We really like to peel back the layers, get really emotional, your deepest, darkest secrets, and make you wondering what life is afterwards.
No.
Perfect. I'm in.
I'm teasing. So yeah, thank you for coming on. You were just on the most recent edition of Survivor Season 40.
Winners at War,
20-year celebration. And before that, you were on Season 32 as the winner yourself. So I just before we get into all that, I want to know what your life was before the world of Survivor. What were you doing before you even applied to Survivor?
So I had applied right when I got out of college, actually, and I was taking a gap year. So I applied to Survivor in, I want to say this summer. I went to an open casting call in Atlantic City. I had been drinking in Atlantic City, and I saw that they had applications, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to go do this tomorrow morning. And my friends were like, no way you're going to wake up after a night of drinking and go to this casting. So I did, and I kind of didn't really think about it. And I went and I backpacked through Thailand. I went on tours with band. I was kind of like a nomad.
Oh, wow.
And they called, and I was like, well, I don't really have anything else going on. So.
That's so cool.
That is bizarre. So what was your major? What were you majoring in college, and what school were you going to when you graduated?
I went to Montclair State, which is in New Jersey, and I graduated with a communications major. So I hated school. I was like, I just want to do anything to get me the hell out as soon as possible. So communication.
Absolutely. So what was the plan? Were you before, you were going to apply, right? So you applied and then you were traveling like a nomad. What was the plan after that? Or were you just we'll just see what happens?
Yeah, I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants. I really didn't know. I tried a few different internships. Nothing really clicked with me. So struggling. And then as soon as I had been on Survivor, I started to get a little bit of clarity. When you're out there, you have a lot of time to think. I'm sure you guys experienced that in the Big Brother house as well. Mm-hmm. And I just realized, like, okay, how can I mix the things the passions that I have in life? My passions are travel, and I want to give other people that eye-opening experience. So I actually got into the travel industry because of Survivor. And since then, I've just been, I've worked in a few different facets of the travel industry.
That's awesome. That is really cool, kind of how things come together. And so when you applied and it's starting to look like, I mean, first of all, I don't even know what the process is like to get on Survivor. I guess I know what it's like to be on Big Brother and go through that process, but is it kind of similar, or do you even know the process?
She probably doesn't know the Big Brother process.
Let's pretend.
I don't know the Big Brother process, but essentially I had to make a video, and then they were like, all right, well, here's what we actually need in that video if you could redo it. I was like, okay. So I redid the video, and then I had like a ton of paperwork. I flew out to LA. There was a bunch of us already out there, and then they start to kind of pick people off day by day. They just start sending people home, and you see the numbers dwindling. You're like, yeah, I'm getting pretty far. And they have more and more interviews. And then the last day, they actually have this guy in Crocs in a hotel room. And he's like, all right, are you ready for your shots? I'm like, what the fuck? This guy has Pawn Stars. This, the lighting's dim in the hotel. They're like, is this legit? Like, what's happening? And they give you your shots, and then they send you home. And about 2 weeks before you actually leave, that's when you get the call saying, okay, you're on.
Wow.
So, it does sound...
it's very similar.
It's very
but
similar.
The shots is not similar.
Well, no, but it is just a guy in like normal clothes, like shorts and like tennis shoes, and he like puts on latex gloves. Like, all right, go pee in this, and then come back, and I got to give you some shots. Yeah. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, you're like, what the heck? This is so sketchy.
Has a bunch of vials just sitting on like the desk in the hotel room.
As
like,
the TV's playing in the background. That's so funny.
Yeah. Really funny.
So now it's feeling like it's real. Did you tell your parents that you were going on? Like, what were they thinking?
Yeah, I told anybody who would listen that I want. So basically everybody was like, yeah, this girl has this weird dream of being on Survivor. Is that show even on? Like, why? He's just so obsessed with it. So nobody was surprised. Like, when I went MIA, nobody was surprised. My parents had known that I wanted to do it. Everybody was like, yeah, that girl is definitely on Survivor right now. She went MIA for 45 days. I'm up.
That's hilarious.
And somehow she's like 50 pounds skinnier, so...
Yeah, that's something I want to get to later, because that's like super interesting to me. So going onto the show, how do you even prepare? I've heard they try to make you gain some weight just for that weight loss, and like, how do you do your mental preparation, physical preparation? Like, what's that like?
Yeah.
I think everybody has their own process. Some people say that they put on weight so that they have things to lose when they get out there. Some people try intermittent fasting and starving themselves so that their body doesn't go into shock. So everybody has different ways. I mean, I hired a personal trainer my first time so I wouldn't look like a total goober. And then I just a bunch of apps to like try some puzzles out. But in general, I think the biggest thing and the biggest tip that I would give anybody going on Survivor is wean yourself off of caffeine before going out there. Because caffeine headaches are like a real thing if you are used to having 2 cups of coffee a day.
Oh, wow.
And that is a Survivor tip for everyone.
That's something that people wouldn't even think about either, I feel like.
I know. It's crazy, though. Like, you get out there, you can't even think straight because your head feels like it's about to crack open.
Wow, that'd be the last thing that I would think about. And so when you're preparing your stuff to go out there, I mean, obviously, I don't feel like you get a big suitcase of stuff. You just have the stuff that you have on you. So what is that like? Do you choose what you're gonna wear, or is it like, all right, this is what I want you to wear for your character?
So basically, the way it works is on your initial season, you're divided by tribe color. So your casting director reaches out and they're like, hey, you have to find things that are yellow in the middle of winter. So good luck with that. then I'm sending them all of these things like athletic clothes. And she's like, well, actually, your character is not really like the athletic type. That's not who, you're not. We have somebody who are bodybuilders on this season. Like, you should not be looking like Lululemon stuff. So I had to go more like bohemian direction or, so they had kind of narrowed down the direction that I should take, but I sent in my own stuff, and then I sent probably 3 options, and then they chose the one that they liked.
Oh, that makes so much more sense.
That's hilarious, because I could just imagine, like, I got a personal trainer, I'm in the best shape I've ever been, and then they're like, you're not an athlete. All right, so...
They're like, that's not who we're casting you for. I'm like, okay.
Like, we appreciate the effort.
You go out, like, look at some of the things that people wear. Like, people who are lawyers are wearing suits, and everybody's like, why did that person wear a suit out there? And it's because they were given the direction of, like, this is what you have. And in fact, something like that, like a suit jacket, is really helpful. So, I mean, depending on the direction that your casting director wants you to take, you can figure out how to make it so that you have something that keeps you warm, or it's not always the best looking outfit, but you have to think practicality as well.
Yeah, and I remember Caleb wore like jeans with a big belt buckle, and he's like swimming in the ocean. I'm like, how is he carrying all that weight of just like wet jeans? And then he passes out. So it's like that. I just can't imagine like having to wear heavy jeans.
Oh my God, he loves that belt buckle so much. It was his most prized possession.
So funny.
Caleb, what a trip being stranded on an island with Caleb.
So
what a trip.
So you're going out there. You guys are on a boat. I mean, you got, like any other show, you got to do all your, they do all these shots and footage and pictures and everything before you go and before you actually start. But when they kick you off the boat, right, are you swimming like 2 miles to shore? Or is it kick you off the boat? All right, now come right back, and then now we're going to drop you off.
So, yeah, you have these little rafts, and you're like swimming into the distance, whatever, and then a speedboat comes and picks your ass up and drops you off at your actual island. But all of the times that you're not seeing, like, for instance, you see us like walking with our torches to tribal, or walking to like into the competitions, whatever it is. Before that, we actually get locked down. So we're not able to talk from the minute that we leave our camp. We're put on lockdown, and we have a handler until the minute that Jeff says, okay, you guys can talk again. So because the concept is that they don't want anything to happen. I'm sure you guys experience it as well before your competitions, but they don't want any kind of strategizing happening off camera. So that's kind of the idea.
And that's why tribal councils are so nuts, because everyone's sitting there thinking, what am I going to say? And then, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing about you have now, an hour and a half for your anxiety to creep up on you. And you have you're replaying all of the combos. And when they cut it off too, they say, okay, your lockdown has started, and you're thinking, shit, I didn't really have time to go check in with Wendell again. And so you're like, oh man. So I think we saw a lot of whispering this past season, just because there's not enough hours in the day to do all of the work that you want to do. So
yeah. Oh no, for sure.
And so I just can't imagine that. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. What interferes with your happiness? Is something preventing you from achieving your goals? Well, BetterHelp is there to help you. Within 24 hours, you can start communicating with a licensed professional. They cover all issues from depression, stress, anxiety, relationships, anger, LGBT matters, grief, and anything you share is confidential. They service clients worldwide, and they have a broad range of expertise. It's convenient, affordable, and it's all confidential. I want you to start living a happier life today. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/Coco. Join over 800,000 people taking charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Coco. As you're going through this game, right, the game starts to set in. How much food are you actually eating while you're trying to make all these decisions and do these competitions? Like, it just seems, and then everybody seems like they lose a ton of weight. So, like, where's your mind space and your stomach space at?
Oh my God. It is it was definitely the hardest part about my first season was the food, because my first season we actually did not get rice. So we had just coconut, and whatever coconuts we could find, we would open it and try to eat it as many different ways as we possibly could. So that was really, really hard. Coconut is a natural laxative, so anything that you're putting in is coming out, and so you're really not getting any type of nutrition. So my first season, I remember even just walking in the sand was draining. I at the last challenge, I had trouble even moving my feet. Like I remember being at this point saying, like, Michele, one foot in front of the other. Like, it was to that point of a physical drain, and it affects your mind as well. Everything feels slower. And when you win those rewards, like pizza or pasta or whatever it is, you actually feel the cogs start turning in your mind. You strategize. I would always try to cram strategizing in after a reward, because I'm like, okay, my brain is actually functioning. Use this as best as possible. It's so wild what that type of deprivation does to you. And like the level of, you just feel so emotionally, physically worn down. And my second season, though, we had rice, and that changed everything. I never once really thought, of course you crave things like peanut butter or like flavors, and textures, but I felt fine, actually, physically.
That's bizarre. So, yeah, I can't even imagine that, or even just thinking about just eating rice, honestly. But
I know. And it's a handful of rice. It's not like you're getting it's not like you have unlimited rice. It's about, if you cup your hand, that's about how much rice you're eating. And you eat that twice a day.
Do they let you take like supplements, or how are you getting nutrition?
So you take 3 different pills. I think it's 3 different.
Good. Okay.
Days. So you take like a malaria pill, a vitamin pill, and then you actually have a little packet that you can put into your water that helps with dehydration.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense. And by the end of your first season, did you have to, or even your second one, this last one, did you have to spend any time in the hospital, like before you were like, all right, you're good to go?
No, I didn't. I know a lot of people on my first season had a lot of hospital time. We actually had a staph infection running pretty rampant on my first season. I didn't have any really medical issues. I had a little bout of like skin cancer, but nothing too crazy.
Nothing
Jeez.
too crazy? What the heck?
A lot of people get that, like the whatever. You're out in the sun.
Yeah, I guess. You just say it so nonchalantly. I don't think I'd ever say that in the context of nothing major, just a little bout of skin cancer.
Well, some people thought they were like going to lose their hand, and people had to get plastic surgery on their faces from this flesh-eating bacteria that we had. So in like the scheme of things, mine was actually pretty minuscule.
They do not show how grueling this show is. Like, I mean, they do, but they don't, because that is just, oh my gosh. As a viewer, you can't understand the concept of when they bring out cookies and milk. You're like, yeah, I mean, that looks really good, but like, don't drop for it. But then at the same time, I'll be like, I'd be the first one to drop for it. I'm like starving and I can't think in my head. It's just, I don't know. They need to do a better showing what you guys are going through, because that is just hearing that. I don't know. Mm-hmm.
Well, I dropped for cookies and peanut butter, and I have to tell you, I don't consciously remember doing that. I like suddenly was down and wet because like you have the bucket, and I was like, I guess I just stepped down for that. I don't remember like the things firing in my brain that was like, yeah, Michele, you know what? Step down. It just happened.
It was probably a good thing then, because then you could fuel up and think.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine how happy
That's
I would
a good point that you made, that you wanted to strategize after eating something.
Yeah, your brain's actually functioning after. Mm-hmm. When you're like hangry at people when you haven't had, and you're like, my blood sugar is probably low. That's constant.
I would be so mean on the show.
Irritable.
I'm so hangry. If I were ever to do Survivor, my strategy would not be to bulk up, because that would be so bad for me. I'd have to like practice starving myself so that people can be around me.
I know. Yeah, it's hard.
So as you're on this show, I mean, I just can't imagine, like, going into this second season now, you're going in with all winners. how do you even prepare for that mentally? Like, you know, you're in there with the best strategizers, obviously, all the people that have won before. Like, that has to be, I mean, yeah, you're a winner yourself, but at the same time, that has to be kind of intimidating, no? Like, what was your thought process going into that, like, when you heard what the show was?
Oh my God, so intimidating. I was intimidated even my first season. Like, how the hell did this schluck from Jersey who has never somehow wander her way onto a beach with a bunch of pro athletes and, you know, Ivy Leaguers? So even my first season, I was intimidated. And then add the level to this game that all of these people have already won in epic ways, proving that they're the best of the best at Survivor, when I didn't even know how I got in my first season, let alone won it. So I was having a lot of like internal doubt and struggle. So I think the best way that I prepared was trying to not psych myself out. A lot of people go back and they watch previous seasons, or, you know, they studied, oh, this person played like this to try to understand their gameplay. I tried to not do any of that because I think that if I had watched things back, my intimidation level probably just would have gone higher. So I did the total opposite. I tried not to think about even going at all. And so, yeah, I don't know if it's the best strategy, but for me, just remaining calm was like really essential for my sanity.
And as you're preparing for this, do you have any thought? I mean, I guess you have to kind of have an inkling maybe, but that Wendell would be on the show. Like, I think he's your ex-boyfriend, right? Yeah. So, like, in my mind, I'd be like, oh, crap.
I definitely, like, when we were even dating, I was like, oh, wouldn't it be freaking hilarious if they had a winter season and we would have to go on the island together? And then I got the call. Initially, I had reached out, like, have you heard anything from CBS? Like, just kind of putting the feelers out there. Uh-huh. And he was like, yeah, I actually did. So we were in communication prior to the episode, prior to the season. So we knew. And then we knew that other people knew about our relationship. So a lot of the conversation was like, how are we going to manage perception that we're working together? Because obviously duos are a threat. So we basically just told it how it was. It ended. Listen, it ended, and that's not a good. It never ends well when it ends in experience. So we told it how it was, but we really didn't have as bad blood as they really painted it to be.
Well, that's good. I mean, at least you know that, you know what I mean? And I mean, it is what it is, and it worked out for you, right? I mean, you got pretty far. You got the closest that you're going to get to winning, right? So that's awesome. That is really cool.
It is kind of a shame, though, and I will say, like, I was working. Obviously, I chose to vote out Ewell instead of Wendell, and Wendell chose to vote out Ewell instead of me. Like, when we clearly could have went with another way, like, we were working together, and I think that this is a thing that Big Brother really doesn't have to deal with quite as much. And I don't maybe this isn't necessarily true, but we are really at the mercy of the edit of the story that the editors want to tell in the respect of, like, I was endgame. So, of course, they were going to make me look better than Wendell. So I think that they manipulated the storyline a bit when we were actually probably closer than they let on.
You're absolutely right. Nicole and I have had this conversation before. So on Big Brother, since they have live feeds, they can't really do a lot to manipulate a storyline when people are watching live 24/7 before, you know, the show's airing and it's happening at the same time. On The Amazing Race, on the other hand, when we did that, they can manipulate some things to make it seem maybe more dramatic or more tough or more tense than it really was in the moment that it was happening. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly. I forgot that you guys had done Amazing Race. I think that's a really good example, because probably if you're looking at whoever won the Amazing Race, they want to tell their journey in a way that people feel excited with the ultimate outcome, right? So those people's journey, and whoever gets caught in the crosshairs of that person's journey, it gets dismissed. And that's basically what happened with the Wendell story. I think that they could have done it in two ways, where we're working together and we're these like ex-lovers, but could they be rekindled? Or they could do a ex-scorned. And I think they chose one direction, and unfortunately for Wendell, it was
it could be worse, right? It could be worse.
I don't know. Could
So I guess looking back on your gameplay in this second season, what's the one thing? I mean, if you had to pick, I know within the course of a game, there's a lot of things that you maybe wish you could have done different, right? Knowing the outcome that it is now, hindsight. But let's say if there is one thing that you can change, is there anything that you regret that you did in the game,
or you didn't do?
I think during the beginning of the game, I was playing really strong and in control. And during the end of the game, I started to get, when I was left out of votes, I started to lose some of the confidence that I had gained in the beginning. And so I started to kind of listen to what people told me was happening instead of going out and trying to manipulate what was happening. I said, everybody's like, okay, we're all going for Jeremy. Instead of saying like, hey, why don't we go for this person instead? I kind of floated with the majority. And I do regret that I didn't take a little bit more control over my end game. And it left me in a really vulnerable position at final, whatever it was, 6, that I had to then be fighting alone by myself. If I had shifted the narrative earlier, then I probably wouldn't have been in that difficult position.
And were you kind of scared? Were you at all scared to kind of shift the narrative? Where I feel like, I mean, it's also the edit too, but when you open your mouth and try to flip something, sometimes it can come back on you. So were you kind of scared of that?
Always, because especially in this game, everybody played it so close to their chest. It was a very, very elevated level of gameplay. I really have never seen anything like it before. And people on this season have played 4 or 5 times, and they've said they've never even seen anything even similar to it. People didn't want to say a name at all. So when a name came up, you're just like, thank God I've even heard a name. And so you're just making sure that that name isn't you. The reality is that if you say, I don't want it to be that person, how about we do this person? And that gets around that Michele is trying to flip it. It's just such a tricky fine line. Like, you don't want to be the person who throws a name out, but you also don't want to be the person who's just riding the tide. So
yeah,
it's tough. It's tough, man. It's a balancing act.
And players kept giving you fire tokens. They gave you an advantage. It just goes to show your social game is amazing. So what's different about your social game than you think like most other players on the island?
I think in general, I don't know. Emotional intelligence is something that I don't know if it's like a learnable thing. And I
feel like I have that, so that's good.
Yeah, of course you do. I think you're a really good example of it. You do have a high emotional intelligence. I think it really comes down to you have to understand how other people are feeling without them even saying it. If one, especially on Survivor, when you're hungry and you're sleep deprived and tensions are high, you have to, and when somebody's irritable, when to speak up, when to back away, when you can push a little bit. So it's like reading small nonverbal cues and finding ways to connect with people in a way that doesn't make them too attached to you, that if you burn them, that they're going to be too hurt by it, but that is enough of an attachment that they want to protect you. So I think it's hard to find that balance for a lot of people.
Yeah, no, it really is. And that's like a good way. There is this tricky fine line. Yeah, if you get too close to someone and they think you betrayed them, you can just count their jury vote out. But if you kind of like help them and act like I'm helping you as much as I can and kind of give them a little warning sign, you might have that vote. It is so hard. I can't even imagine being sleep deprived, food deprived, like all that going on. I that's like adding, I don't know, so much more into the equation. But for the competitions and things, how are you guys? These competitions are tough. They look tough, and they're simple, but they're about balancing. They're about holding your arm up while you're standing on something small. They're puzzles while your mind is just foggy. What is it? I mean, do you think doing this in your normal everyday life would be difficult also, or?
Yes.
Yeah. So they're okay.
I literally look at a challenge and I'm like, I have to go do that? Like, are you kidding me? Even some of the, I don't know, like here's a balance beam really raised up super high on top of whatever. I'm like, I wouldn't want to do that. I don't even think I can do that. But you have to throw yourself into it. And listen, I suck at the challenges. I found one niche that I'm good at, and that's puzzles, and everything else I kind of suck. So
Did you memorize that one puzzle?
No, I did not. I
You're
honestly,
so good at it.
dude, I think it's like a spatial thing. Something to do with spatial puzzles I do really well on. I'm not sure why. I just see it in my head.
It's in the people next to you are like copying your puzzle. Is that super frustrating?
Honestly, the people I was at the end with were not puzzle gurus. So I was nervous at all.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, she just came back from the end and just got it all. And they were copying her, and she's like, I don't care. I got it.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
I was like, y'all are a bunch of cheaters.
Nicole has some questions from our listeners that are specifically for you. So she's going to go ahead and go through some of these questions here, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so what's the biggest difference from your first season versus the Winners at War season?
The gameplay, absolutely. The gameplay was so elevated. It was like literally being in the majors versus the minor leagues. My first season, I felt like it was all about personalities. Like my first season had a ton of big personalities. We had Debbie, we had Aubrey, Ty. You know, they're there to make entertaining TV. This time, all of these people won, and they knew what the hell they were doing, and it was intense. Every single day was intense.
Yeah, no, I can't even, like, just sitting there and just, okay, it's kind of like you're at a poker, like, you're just at a table and you're like, okay, the first one to make a move, like, you're in trouble because we're all good. We all know what we're doing. So I don't even know how you could, like, strategize prior to going into the season. I don't think you could, like, come up with a game plan at all.
You can. And so many people ask me this, like, what was your strategy going into the season? I was like, I feel like anybody who enters a season like this with a strategy is just shooting themselves in the foot. Mm-hmm. You need to be adaptable and open-minded and look at how the game is shifting and shift with it. You can't, like, for me, my strategy is to not have a strategy, and it's worked for me thus far, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. If you won the final immunity, would you have made fire against Tony?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, if you have a chance to sit at Final 3, you want to sit at Final 3.
For sure.
But again, like, I don't know if there was a world in this Final 4 that I could have won. And I don't even know if making fire would have secured me any votes. So, I don't know. I think about this all the time. It keeps me up at night.
No, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it too. So you don't know if even what you're thinking now is what you would have done then. You just have to really be in the situation to really know, because people ask questions like that. Would you have taken this person to final 2? It's like, I really don't know the answer to that. So
I have no idea. I get so many, and of course we live with the coulda, woulda, shouldas all the time. If I did this, could I have gotten this?
Oh,
and
yeah.
Constant, like the what ifs it's so constant. So I mean, I'm grateful the way it all turned out. I honestly don't have any regrets. So
what's it like recording a season? You can't tell anyone you're on a season, and then you watch it back knowing that you potentially, I mean, this is for both times for you, could have won, well, this time was $2 million, but $1 million.
It was crazy. Both times I had to wait about a year. My last time I actually had to wait about a year and a half before Final Tribal. The full year. So it's a long time. My first season I had to stop drinking because I would get drunk and, you know, whisper to my friends, do you guys want to know where I was last fall? So this time, you know, more people had probably the idea of why I was gone and whatnot. But also, I kind of knew that I didn't win this season, so I didn't feel like I was holding in quite as big as a secret. Mm-hmm. I'm just grateful that I got to be in every single episode and experience every single 39 days. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, that is really awesome.
And watching it back, what surprised you the most?
I don't know.
Did you know about Tony? Did you know about Tony? Oh, I guess he said about him hiding in the trees and stuff.
Yeah, he's at Final Tribal. But I think seeing the Edge was pretty surprising. Like all of the stuff that they had to do on the Edge, because I had never been there, so I wasn't super privy to like what their experience was like. So it was interesting to see like the log challenge and all of that stuff. It looked super hard. Thank God I wasn't there.
Yeah, that's actually a good point to like bring up. What did you think? Because you're playing the game the whole time on the island, and you knew someone could come back at such a crucial time, like Final 6, back onto the island from Edge of Extinction. So were you like, man, this is like not fair? Or how are you feeling? I mean, that's how I would feel if I wasn't seeing what's going on.
Yeah, no, it felt very, very unfair for the people who had lasted all 39 days. I mean, we had been scrambling just to stay alive, like especially with how volatile everything was and how there was so much whispering going on. It was hard to get to that final 6 spot. It was very, very hard. Mm-hmm. So for somebody to kind of waltz in after being on the edge for all of that time, we're like, are you kidding me? On the flip side, for me, I was on the bottom. So having somebody come in mm-hmm. that wanted to shake things up with me, it threw me a bit of a life vest. So I was grateful ultimately that it happened. A lot of people in our season were not very happy though. So
yeah. No, it's just a whole nother way of playing the game, like the fire tokens, a whole nother element. So it was really cool to watch. And when we asked for questions for you, you got so much love and support. Everyone is just like loves you.
Absolutely.
And they're wondering like, could they potentially see you back again?
Yes, hopefully. My casting director called me yesterday just to like ask about some tech stuff, and I was like, "Oh, are you calling me back already?" Like, I'm ready. Like, no, Michelle, relax.
That's awesome.
As soon as Corona's over, just give me a ring. Would you guys go on? What do you think?
I mean, I think that it would be really cool. I wouldn't ever want to turn down the opportunity. Whether I think I could survive, I don't know. I really don't know if I could.
I would, maybe not right now, but down the line, that'd be, if they asked me,
I think Victor would be really good at it.
I would do it, and I think it'd be a lot of fun.
I think you both would be good at it. Aren't you a farm girl? Come on.
Yeah, but I eat a lot.
She would be the most entertaining because she would just complain about everything, which would make for great TV.
Oh, stop.
That would be people love watching that. People love people struggling through the elements. So I'm gonna start a petition for you guys to get on. We'll hopefully we'll be on a season together.
Oh, that would be cool. We can do like a match, or you can come on Big Brother or something. Who knows?
I don't think I can do that. So
no, you'd be good at that because it's emotional intelligence. That's all you need. And guess what? You get all the food you want. You get to hang out and just lounge. And the competitions are not difficult.
All the crazies go on that show, though. Big Brother's got the crazies. I bet you guys at all of the reality events.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
We are
so one last thing here before we go. I was reading on your bio for Survivor, and I saw something on here that caught my eye. It said, pet peeves, people who eat smelly foods on planes. Okay. I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. This is not what I was expecting.
Well, you know what? I like to throw people for a loop. So
this is a good ball.
I like to change this to people who eat smelly foods. That's it.
He's looking at me because I like to eat pickled eggs.
What the hell is the pickled egg? I'm personally offended. I feel victimized right now.
It's so bad. So in our fridge, we have this, it looks like a science experiment. It's a big glass jar. It has some yellowy, greenish liquid in it with onions, garlic, and eggs, and it's been sitting there rotting.
It's so good.
I am gagging. I think if they had said, day 38, you're on Survivor, you've been starving for 38 days, Michelle, here's a pickled egg, I'd be like, you know what? I'm good.
Well, the funny thing is, I came in, Nicole was doing something when I left the house one day, and I come back and I'm like, babe, why did you spill vinegar somewhere? I'm like, what is that? I was like, we need to air this thing out like now. Like there's a problem. And she's just looking at me, and she had made pickled eggs. So
I have to make them while he's gone. Hey, you can't diss them, Michelle, until you try them.
Diss them.
I don't think I'll be doing that. I think I'll just take your word for it. Also, I think boys might smell the might hate the smell of vinegar because my boyfriend also hates the smell of vinegar. And he would kill me if I made pickled eggs in the house.
Yeah.
I think it's a guy thing.
Maybe it is.
I get so freaked out because she'll take a pickled egg and just like walk to the bedroom, and I'm like, I swear on everything, if that one drop gets on anything in the house, I'm gonna lose it.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Brushing your teeth before you get into bed with me with
I'll kiss someone and be like, "Did you just eat a pickled egg?" I said, "Yep, I do it on purpose."
It's so nasty.
Y'all are freaks.
Well, thank you so much, Michele. We really appreciate you coming on the show. Very, very fun and lively conversation.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed it too.
I hope we get to meet in real life.
This was so freaking fun. You guys are a blast. I know. I hope we get to meet each other soon when all this crazy corona is over.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Have a good day. I'll watch your live tonight, by the way. Have a good day.
Okay, good. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Well, Michele is amazing. I can see why she never got voted out. And also, now we have Natalie Anderson, who is the runner-up, super badass, and we can't wait to talk to her. Here she is.
Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
Hey, what's up, girl?
Cool, Natalie. Thank you so much for joining Victor and I on Coco Caliente podcast. We're so excited to have you. Aren't we, Victor?
Yes, we are excited. And it's awesome because we are now part of the Amazing Race family.
Yeah.
So
I know.
We kind of have that bond.
So the only thing that you have to do, girl, is get on Survivor, and then I just have to get on Big Brother.
Yes.
So before we get into the whole thing with everything that you've done, right? I happen to have a friend that was from Sri Lanka, right?
Oh my God.
Yes, and he went to the Asian International School.
No way.
Yes, and so when
Who
Nicole
is this person?
Harshan Ramakrishna.
Oh my God. I don't know him.
Yeah, he said she probably won't know me, but I knew her, like I knew of her and her group of friends. And then when she got onto The Amazing Race, her social media blew up, and then everybody at school knew who she was. And
That's funny.
Yeah, so I thought it was hilarious because when I was doing my research for Amazing Race, I was like, hey, there's, and I was jokingly, I was like, oh, you have to know this girl. She, she's from Sri Lanka. And he's like, ah, ha, ha. And he's like, wait, I do know her.
That's so funny. Oh my God. So, everybody knows at least one Sri Lankan. That's what I always say. Like, we're such a small, tiny island, but every person I've ever met, like when they just ask me where I'm from, and then I end up telling them I'm from Sri Lanka, somebody's always like, oh, I knew this one Sri Lankan. And it's usually like this super nerdy girl or guy that they went to school with and he's in med school. It's always the same.
Yeah, exactly. I get the same thing so I'm from Puerto Rico. They'll be like, oh, I know a guy. Do you know Jorge? He's from Puerto Rico. And I'm like, well, no.
Like, no, dude.
There's millions of them, right?
Yeah, it's funny.
Well, no, thank you, Natalie, so much for being on the show with us. We're excited to talk to you. And before we get into the TV show stuff, I kind of like to go back before that. So what were you, and I know you're a twin, right? You and Nadiya, right?
Yeah.
And so what were you guys doing? What was life for you like in Sri Lanka before any of this ever happened, before you guys came stateside?
So basically, I was born in New York City, raised in Sri Lanka, and I moved back stateside for high school. And so I've been in the States since 2001.
Okay.
But, my childhood was that island life in Sri Lanka. It was super chill, like literally Nadiya and I just what you picture, like growing up on an island, being just literally water babies our whole life. And then I moved to Connecticut for high school, and it was like such a culture shock. And yeah, Connecticut was obviously very different from Sri Lanka. Ended up then going to Fordham University, and then I moved to Jersey. But yeah, Sri Lanka life was the best. I go back as much as I can. My parents still live back home, and I still have an accent because Nadiya and I lived together our whole lives here. She finally moved away. So I feel like I'm going to lose my accent soon because we just bounced off each other. So yeah, I think it's people identify me as being some kind of Southeast Asian, but Sri Lanka is obviously very specific and unique. So I like that about myself.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I know exactly what you're talking about, because if I go visit Puerto Rico and I come back, I get an accent when I'm over there, and I come back and I'll have it for maybe like a week, and then it goes away.
Yeah, like I have an accent in America and I also have an accent in Sri Lanka. So when I go back, people are like, oh, look at her with her American accent. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, in both places I can win.
Yeah, no, that is so true. I go back, they call me the white guy when I go to Puerto Rico, and they call me the Spanish guy when I come over here stateside.
Exactly.
I'm like, so oh my God, I have no identity. What the...
Did you ever live in Puerto Rico or no?
Yes. So I lived there for my 9th grade. So my first year of high school, and then my first year of college.
Oh, wow.
And then
That's
we
cool.
visited every year pretty much until I got older. And so like I identify that as like my hometown basically over there.
That's awesome. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Super interesting stuff. So when did Amazing Race, because you did that before you did Survivor, when did Amazing Race come into your wheelhouse?
So basically there was this friend of mine who always used to tell Nadiya and I, like, guys, you need to apply to be on Amazing Race. I had never watched the show. I'd heard of it, obviously, but I never submitted a video. She ended up submitting a random video of Nadiya and I arguing. And and so CBS was like, immediately called us. And I remember when they called us, they were like, somebody called and they were like, hey, is this Natalie? And I was like, yes. And they asked me first, are you a U.S. citizen? And I was like, who the hell is this? Because, like, you can't tell, I guess. And, they were like, hey, like, we're from Amazing Race. We really want you on the show. We had to do, like, a real submission of, like, an audition tape. And then, I think that we just checked off all these demographics, like, twins, sisters, minority, women. Like, we were just this really unique, like, set of sisters that they just were like, all right, this is gold right here. Let's get them on the show.
That's
and
awesome.
then, I was on Amazing Race twice, and then Survivor came knocking, and then I was just like, whatever, why not? And then I was on Survivor twice. So I keep saying, like, now I just literally need to go on Big Brother and hit that twice and hopefully win one out of the 2 shots.
That is awesome. So when you guys were doing the Amazing Race, did you guys prepare at all? Like, Nicole and I were highly underprepared when we went to the show, and definitely should have exercised more, maybe packed lighter.
We also only had like 4 days notice. So.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. No, I prepared physically. I probably should have done more mental preparation, like puzzles or like something. Cause like Nadiya and I, my strength is my strength really. And it's fun for me to train. So I was just like, any excuse to work out more. I was like, sign me up. But I just worked out a lot. And Nadiya, physically, we knew a girl team. We heard, like, our casting producer, that's the one piece of advice she gave us, was like, sometimes girl teams really fall short on the super physical challenges. So I was like, that is not going to happen my season. So I just went in strong as an ox and super fast and fit. But besides working out, I didn't do any other kind of prep. No. We should have probably practiced stick shift, and we didn't. And that's how we got freaking eliminated, was trying to drive stick shift. Yeah.
Oh, so, my gosh.
Yeah.
And
next time.
Do you find it like when me and Nicole are on the show, do you find it's easier to argue with somebody that you know and you love and like you know what I mean? 'Cause
they'll forgive you.
Yeah, opposed to like being with like a friend, maybe.
Right.
You know what I mean? I feel like that's kind of like a crutch as well,
Seriously, I think that, with being close and loving somebody means that you know exactly what buttons to press. And there sometimes isn't boundaries, which is a bad thing when you're being filmed, But yeah, me and Nadiya got really heated sometimes. At one point, I was going to punch her in the face, and obviously they didn't show it. But I think being on the Amazing Race is so stressful. It's the Survivor, people always ask me, like, what's harder, what's different, and Survivor is obviously physically and emotionally like so draining, but the rate at which Amazing Race is at, there's no rest. Like, it's either 100 miles an hour or you're in your hotel room so like beat up and just like have nothing to do, and you just have to hit the mat, and then you're literally just a psychopath. And so I think the stress of that really comes out with somebody, especially if you know them really well. Like you said, like sometimes you're just like, okay, this could get really, really heated, so let's chill.
Yeah, it was crazy. We're like, man, it's just high stress all the time. Like, today could be the last day, right? And you can never give up because you never know what's going to happen to somebody else. So you're just always on edge.
It was hard for me because we would get a lead and then we would all be equalized, immediately.
Oh my God, that was the worst.
Yeah, and it's like, man, I worked really hard for second place 3 times, and now I'm like, fighting for trying to get second to last, not just to be eliminated. Like, there was I didn't get like a head start. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah, that was annoying. They would do that when we were so spaced out, and then we would just be like, okay, so we were slaying all this time, and now we're just neutralized. Like you said, all your hard work is just like down the drain.
Yep. Yep.
So how did it feel when you got so you did, Amazing Race twice, like getting that call for Survivor, were you... had you watched Survivor? Did you know anything about it, or like kind of what was that like?
Well, I had never watched an entire season. I knew what it was about, but I had never watched an entire season. But when they called, I was like, yo, sign me up, like whatever at this point. I had won, we had lost twice on Amazing Race, and I was like, okay, fine, another shot at $1 million. I'm down. But I went in really low expectations, just expecting to have fun. For me, any kind of challenge is like super hard to say no to. So I was down, like, and I had very little, I feel like we were last minute casting as well. So like you go, like they knew us and they knew that we were familiar with like reality TV. So I think we were like a last minute, like, hey, I'm sure Natalie and Nadiya would do this. Let's give them a call type thing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it was super last minute. Thank God. Like physically, I was like, whatever. I was good to go. And Nadiya and I just were like, yeah, let's do this. So it was pretty easy,
So that first time, was it gut wrenching just seeing your sister go like first, and then having to like take all this on by yourself now?
Yeah, I mean, Nadiya and I imagine we did Amazing Race twice together. So every adventure or every crazy experience in my life, we've always done together. So her not being there was like this really weird feeling. But it ended up being a good thing, obviously, for my game. I just channeled all my like anger and revenge towards getting back at all the dudes for her. And then it ended up like, letting me go all the way to the end. But I was really scared and nervous because it was the first time I was doing something solo dolo, and I couldn't rely on her like other people had their loved ones that season. Blood versus Water is just a really weird, it's like Survivor like times 5 because you have the dynamics of loved ones out there, which is, it can cloud your judgment sometimes, but it also can sometimes make people so on edge because I can't imagine having like a loved one around me the whole time and having to worry about their personal, like mental space. And then, like you said, when you're with somebody in a tough space, you can argue and like, it's like a really weird twist on Survivor.
Yeah, I can't imagine being like that and then deprived of all the things that you're deprived of, and then having to, worry about their space in the game, your space in the game, like you said, and then everybody's emotional status at that same time.
Yeah, it's tough.
And you went that entire season without getting a vote cast against you, which is incredible. Like, oh my gosh.
I was a crazy person too that season. Like I was just like reckless as hell. I don't know why people. I don't know. And then the opposite happened this season. I got voted off first. Like all the votes, they want me out.
So that's what I was kind of getting to that. So you win, you get no votes cast against you, and then were you worried that going into the season, since you had no votes ever cast against you, that could put a target on your back?
No, I never thought about the votes because Nick went in the same as me. He never got a vote against him. Mm-hmm. But I think I just didn't think. I knew physically people would look at me as a threat, but I also assumed that they would want to keep me around the first couple of tribals because I would be such an asset to them on physical challenges. I had no idea I was going to get voted off. I was just not ready for that. I knew later in the game people would look at me as a threat, but I just thought like the positives of having me on your tribe would outweigh the positives of trying to vote me out. So anyway, my drive was so stupid. They voted me out, and then every idiot joined me on Extinction because they kept losing, and I was like, "That's what you guys get. Like you kept Adam over me. Hello, like, what's wrong with you?"
Yeah, Nicole was very impressed. I mean, she had a stat there because I think you had 13 competition wins. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
You beasted it out, and then to come back from Extinction like that too, and basically have the ultimate underdog story.
Oh my God, it was like the coolest thing to watch. Not probably to go through, but now you're probably happy. Like or it was a cool thing to go through, but I mean, I watching that was just like, oh my gosh. Anyways, I don't want to get too far into it, Vic. We gotta take it slower. So going into like this season, knowing that it's Winners at War, and knowing that you could potentially have some friends in there, was that something, or maybe some enemies, was that something that you had to worry about before the season started? Like, I hope I see this person, or I hope we, like kind of pre-alliances. What's that like?
So I'm not really connected to the whole Survivor family. Like, I had Jeremy, and I knew Jeremy from my season, but that was an organic relationship that happened while I was filming, and we maintained a really strong bond after. Some people in the Survivor world, they're so well connected, and I had no idea about like how relationships were formed specifically as pre-game alliances. I went in with no kind of conversations with anybody. Even Jeremy and I never said anything. It's an unspoken trust with Jeremy, and I never was like, yo, you got to have my back, because we have a real relationship. But I went in blind, and then I found out a lot of people did have pre-game alliances. I never thought about that, but that is the new way to play. If you're having returnees come back, you have to assume that there is pre-game alliances going on. So next time, if I play again, I will be way more savvy to that. I take into account, like, maybe who I've seen on Instagram hanging out. Maybe they're close, like, take notes. But I would never fake an alliance before I went out there. It's just not my style to do that, because you can't really trust somebody telling you before the game, like, yo, let's go to final 3 together. Like, that's complete crap,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, people did that. Isn't that nuts?
Yeah, I just can't, you know what? And
I don't like the stress of, like, having to deal with that. I wish, like, none of you were allowed to talk. So it's, like, more fair, I don't know.
I agree.
That would just irk my nerve to the core. I mean, I wouldn't do it and maybe to my own fault, just out of stubbornness, even if I knew people were doing it. I'd be like, you know what?
I'm like you.
You mofos, and then you better fucking come through this wall and get me, because I'm not doing this. I feel like that's... Yeah.
And trying to figure it out. Ugh.
What about on Big Brother? Like, if you have pre-game alliances and people are returning, like, how do they regulate that? Or is it just unspoken? Everybody knows that that's going on?
So there's only been one season that it's been all returners, and that was way back on season 7. And so I don't really know how that went. When I returned for my second time, there was only 4 returners, and I had no idea who they were. And, like, I didn't go digging because I was so scared that, it would ruin my chances of getting back on. Like, I'm the girl that follows the rules.
Yeah, me too. Stupid.
So I know that some people, like, knew, like, that they had alliances and stuff, but I didn't, because I was just
I do think that happened on our season of The Amazing Race, but that's something that we weren't privy to, because me and Nicole, we got called last minute. We didn't really know anybody else, and we were just like, whatever. And then when they get on the show, they're all like buddy, and like, oh, hey,
It's like annoying, because it's like, what is going on,
It's
like, oh,
that's so true.
Didn't get invited
Especially
to this
Survivor,
club.
like, yeah, exactly. And especially in Survivor, those bonds, you're supposed to be able to forge those bonds in, like, the harsh environment and having zero trust in people. And that's half the fun of watching it, is those bonds being created. So, but it is what it is. It comes with the territory of returning players. Yeah. And I guess next time, like I said, if I play again, I'll just be way more conscious of that. I'm not saying I'm going to go create final 3 alliances before I get on the beach, but I will be conscious of who's hanging out and, take everything that people say with a grain of salt if I've seen them hanging out with somebody that doesn't like me.
Okay, so you unfortunately, you get voted out first, and then you're headed to Edge of Extinction. And what's your first, what are you thinking about this?
So the first feeling, I think, was just straight up embarrassment. It's so many eyes on you, and I put so much pressure on myself to do really well. And like I said, it was a true blindside, because I just did not think they would get rid of me, especially because we had just lost a really physical challenge, and you could see our tribe was lacking that physical strength. I was like, there's no way they're going to get rid of me. I was stronger than all the girls and half of the boys. Okay, so I was like, you know what? I'm good. But so I think the initial shock was just really being embarrassed, and I had to move forward, because if I didn't shake that kind of like feeling about myself, there's no way I would have been able to stick in it and keep being strong. So I just was really embarrassed and shocked.
So when that happened, did you know there was another island that you were going to, or did you find that out right when it happened?
So they told us on the freaking starting line, they were like, not starting line, because that's Amazing Race. Told us on like the stupid, like we did like cheers with Jeff or something. And then he was like, Extinction Island is in play. And I was like, oh, hell no. I did not want Extinction. So I knew it was going to be there. But it was like, I knew what was coming. So I was mentally prepared for it a little bit at least. But nothing could have described that feeling of getting there by myself and being like, oh, hell, like this sucks.
Yeah, that does suck. I wouldn't want to go through that.
But, and then, so how did you remain so focused and strong throughout that whole, I mean, you were on there for how many days?
36 days.
Yeah. So how did you remain so focused? And you were the first one on there and you get back in. What's your game plan from now on out?
So I think I just changed my mindset. My first day there, I was just like, you know what? I could go through the motions. I would have never quit. Like you would have to medevac me before I quit anything. But at the same time, I could have gone through the motions like some of the people on the edge and just been there for the sake of been there. I called us like white walkers. We were like beach walkers on Extinction. Like we had no, like nothing. And I made this conscious effort to be like, yo, I got literally the worst hand dealt to me, but I can either like make this game competitive and be proactive about my situation here or just be super lazy with it. And each path would have been fine because I would have, I would have gone through the motions and I probably wouldn't have got back onto the game, but I could have made peace with it. And I just made this effort to just make a play Survivor on Extinction and just go, all in. And then it was like, for me, once I commit to something, there is no stopping me. I'm like literally 100 miles an hour or like not doing anything. So it gave me motivation out there to just wake up and just be like, remind myself every day why I was there. And that was to get back on the main beach and like never give up and try and make myself proud to erase that feeling of feeling like embarrassed and feeling like I didn't belong with these guys. And I was like, you know what? It's up to me to change how I feel about myself in this situation.
Mindset is everything because you could have easily just, been like just
shut down.
Yeah, for sure.
That would have been, it's hard in these situations too because you're not with any family. Nobody's patting you on the back or telling you got it. So it was really up to myself to just motivate myself and just stick with it,
And as crappy as the situation is and how much you got to muster up, it's cool going through that. Because then you can, right? If you're never put in that situation, having to go through something like that, when you come back to your real life and then something gets tough, you're like, well, this is not that tough,
Yeah, it's cool to have that to like remind yourself sometimes of what not only is what the human body is capable of, but mentally what we can do. And like you said, in hard times, just remind yourself, like Natalie, you've done worse. Like stop complaining.
What is the Edge of Extinction like a day on Edge of Extinction versus a day on the island?
So the Edge is just way slower paced. We would have a challenge every couple of days, if that. And we just weren't given our rice, so we had to hike like a mile to get our rice, and it was very little rice. So I just did a post on Insta about how much rice we got, and we probably got on a good day half a cup total, so split between the morning and the night.
Oh my gosh.
Which I know how much half a cup is, and I knew the macros and stuff. So when I was out there, like I told everybody, I was like, guys, we're eating like 100 calories a day, maybe 20 carbs max, and like 0 fat, 0 protein. So I would be just conscious of that because for me, eating is like I eat for like fuel and for my body to be strong. So I would just sit here and think, oh my God, my body's going to just literally get wrecked on this kind of like the amount of we were eating. But yeah, then we would eat, then we would do nothing, try not to die basically all day. And then we would just wait around for a challenge. If we didn't get a challenge, we would sit there from morning to night, no shelter, no shade, just laying around. And the days would go by so slow. And on the main beach, you have tree mail, you have each other, you have like this thing to look forward to. So the pace was way slower, but that is mentally draining because it is so easy to lose motivation and just kind of get into this weird lull of being so jobless out there. So yeah.
And I read in an interview that you said you would wake up to rats biting your fingers and toes.
Yes, I'm so pissed I didn't show the rats because we would like literally go to sleep expecting these guys to nibble on us. And I wore my shoes on my hands at night because they would always go for my fingers. But yeah, my first season, I didn't have any rats in Nicaragua. And this beach was infested with them. As soon as the sun went down, we would see them scurrying around, and they would come around us when we were sleeping. So it was disgusting.
That is F that. Oh my gosh.
Right? Oh, it's like worse than snakes. I'm like rats.
Oh, I don't even know. I can't believe they didn't show that because that's just brutal.
Yeah, and I got bitten one day. I remember, like, I woke up to the bite, and I remember telling, like, the medical staff, I was like, hey, so, like, did we get rabies shots before we came out here? Because I got bitten by rats last night. And they were like, if you had rabies, you would be expressing symptoms. I was like, oh, awesome.
Oh, okay. So wait till I see the symptoms before.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's be, forget being proactive.
Yeah.
So in the Big Brother process, Big Brother, what am I talking about? In Survivor, how much weight did you lose through that time?
I think like I went in, like my regular body weight is somewhere between like 145 and 148, which is super specific, but I'm always in that realm because I just know my body. Before I went out, I was training really hard and working out really hard, but I was eating I was eating way more than I usually do because I feel like half it's like this, your body knows what's coming and your mind already knows what's coming up. And it's like telling your body like, we got to get Natalie big. She's going to go strong because you know what's coming. So I was like feeling really strong, but I was sitting at like a 150. And I checked out. I was, after 3 days of eating as much rice as I wanted on the main beach, tribal breakfast and pizza, I weighed at I checked in at around 130. So I'm assuming when I left Extinction, because that was my worst, I was the lightest at the end of Extinction because I definitely gained weight in those 3 days of eating nonstop on the main beach. I'm assuming I was like around 125, which is I lost all my muscle. I lost I'm a pretty muscular chick, and so your body first eats the muscle and then it goes for your fat. So I checked out and put it into perspective. This is how I can kind of explain it to people. Before I went out, my back squat 1 rep max was 255. So I can back squat 255 for one.
That's pretty. That's a good back squat.
Yeah, when I came back, I could not even back squat 125. I physically couldn't move that weight because I had zero muscle on my body. So we just got wrecked. It was really bad.
Wow. So for you to prepare, what you said that you eat, do you eat a little bit more, and do you do puzzles? Or I know you're always physically fit. So how do you prep for Winners at War?
I should have done puzzles because obviously I got slayed by Michele on all the puzzles I did with her.
She's a puzzle beast.
I don't know. Her brain just works differently.
Yeah.
And I always say, together, Michele and I would be a perfect Survivor player because she's got all the brain. I've got all the brawn. Obviously, both beauty.
Yes.
But no, I'm a CrossFit coach, so I was just CrossFitting and eating right. I didn't do any puzzle practice. I probably should have, but I just hate puzzles.
And who knows if it even would help, because the puzzles are you don't know what kind of puzzles, you can't build these puzzle structures in your backyard, and who knows if a digital puzzle would even do anything. I just like to know what people do to put their bodies through this crazy experience, because I'm just at home watching, and I just don't even know how you guys are still standing. So the one thing I did that really helps is I did practice balancing stuff. So at the gym I would make these fake things that I could practice balance, and then I did a lot of grip strength. For CrossFit, we do a lot of grip strength anyway because of pull-ups and holding a barbell. But I specifically trained my grip strength, my balance, and kind of moving my body in weird ways because I knew that's how the challenges work. You just have to be super ready for anything. And besides that, I slept on the ground a couple of times so that I could prepare for that kind of uncomfortable feeling. But besides that, it was my regular life. I was just coaching, working out, and eating right. Nice.
Well, that is really cool. Yeah, it did work. It did work.
Yeah.
And so while you're on Edge of Extinction, you see that these people could potentially be your jury if you get back in. So was that kind of going through your mind? I know Boss and Rob said that you kind of distanced yourself, which makes sense if I read, okay, I'll let you answer, but I read that you said it was kind of because they were, could bring you down and kind of they could bring you down mentally,
if they're
everybody's
kind of
mood. Yeah.
Yeah, so my mindset was very different from people there. Listen, there's no point in me trying to win jury votes if I can't get back on the main beach. So I think everybody else, I had to choose like what my energy was going into. Like, am I going to sit here and stroke people's egos and be nice, Natalie, or am I going to be focused on myself? Like, literally put all my eggs in my own basket and say, listen, the first thing I got to do is get back onto the beach. I thought people would understand that better than they did at the end. But I didn't have energy to do all the things on the edge. Like, we had limited energy, limited time. And I just told myself, listen, you have one shot left. Like, you already blew the first one. So everything is going to be depending on this. And people, like the way I behave, it rubbed people the wrong way. But at the same time, how am I supposed to want to get all the tokens, do all the things that I needed to do, and be super sweet to people? Like, it was impossible.
I thought it was really weird to bring that point up of like distancing yourself, because it's not like you were like mean or you like took stuff from them or did something like that. It was just kind of like you distance yourself. And you know what? That makes sense to me, because I like to be alone. And like when I'm thinking, when I'm strategizing, when I'm talking to myself, I need to be alone. And so you have to get back on that island for it to even matter. And you get back on the island, and what are you well, first off, I guess you buy Tyson an idol. So what was your reasoning in buying him an idol?
So I had so many fire tokens. Literally, I had 16, I think, the entire time I was out there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And people
so
were throwing
amazing.
shade at me. And people were throwing shade at me saying, like, I was there for so long, and I wanted to be like, hello, Amber was there I was only there for one more day than Amber, and Amber only had a total of 2 tokens the entire time she was out there. So time is not the factor here, okay? It's grind. That's the factor. And I feel like, so I had all these tokens, and I could have either bought mad peanut butter for myself or just put it on protecting somebody else that I knew had a good chance of getting back in the game, because I was team Edge. I was like, listen, if Tyson gets back in, and he was my first round pick, if I couldn't bet on myself, Tyson has just the skill set to win a battle back challenge. He had already won once, and he had already had that taste of blood. Like I said, a lot of people were on the beach and kind of given out and checked out, and me and Tyson and Parv, we were still in it. And my final decision actually was between Parv and Tyson. And I told Parv, I was like, I'm sorry to admit this, but I know Tyson has a better shot of getting back in, and I don't want the idol to go to waste. If I could have just given it to both of them and been like, whoever wins takes it, take it. But that wasn't the rules. The rules are you had to walk into the challenge with that idol, and that idol was yours. And I was just like, Tyson, if it's not me, I want it to be you. Go get him, dude. And that was basically it.
That is so badass to give your biggest competition an idol, to give them more power, to be like, all right, come on, you want this? Even here's an idol to help you get even further. I mean, Natalie, what a badass move! Like,
I know, and the thing is, nobody from the Edge, you should seeing that later. And I know Tyson batted for me on the jury. He said, guys, Natalie was doing what she needed to do, but look what she did. She shared the wealth at the end. She couldn't give us all an idol, but she gave me an idol, and they still didn't appreciate it. It's so bizarre to me. Looking back, I just don't. I don't really understand it, but
because they know everything. They know what the Edge of Extinction was. They know what it felt like,
and the probability of going back and being able to make it to final 3.
And someone's got to get voted out first, and it happened to be you, and you didn't give up that whole entire time. Got 16 fire tokens. You played a part in the game. I don't understand.
And you made people make decisions in the game because of those.
And you gave people peanut butter when they're starving. I guess I don't really see the whole aspect of you isolating yourself would be a reason not to vote for you. They know what you went through. They know it wasn't easy. And so I kind of struggle to see that a little bit.
Yeah, I understand. And I hate to play devil's advocate and say, if I was a dude and if I played the same way, would I get treated the same way? As women, are we supposed to be way, quote unquote, nicer or less selfless when it comes to how we behave? I don't understand it. So, I mean, like I said, I can't say what if, but I hate that even went through my mind when Boston Rob brought that up at the end. It's are you just mad that I got back in and you can't give me props for my grind and my hustle, even if it wasn't a really aggressive approach to what I needed to do? That's what I needed to do to get back on,
Yeah, no, definitely. That's a good point for sure.
Absolutely.
Because even when I won Big Brother my second time, I only won once. When I played Big Brother, I won the second time. And the producer like vouched for me while I was in the house and did some articles and was like, if she was a guy, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I definitely think they don't see women should be as aggressive or even like backstabbing or lying or anything like that to get further in the game. It's just like hard for people to accept. But okay, so you're back in the game. You team up with Michele, and was there a little bit more of something we didn't see with you working with Sarah as well?
Yeah, so obviously they have such little time to show everything, but there was a bond between Sarah and I that was created. In my head, it was a good enough bond. Like Michele and I vouched for her, that tribal council, we could have got rid of her ass and we kept her around because she had kind of sold us this, like, I'm down for you girls if I need to be. Like, I'm willing at the end to jump ship off of Tony because I told her that, girl, if you go to the end with Tony, you are not winning. Like, I just kept trying to embed that in her head. So there was more of a friendship / like we talked a lot about stuff, us three, especially in the Ben vote out. You don't see it that day. We were going in thinking, Sarah told us, like, don't worry, I'm not writing any of your names down. I'm writing down Ben. Me, you, and Michele, we're going to write down Ben. Tony doesn't know, we're going to get rid of him. And I was so nervous because I didn't know if votes were me or Michele. I didn't believe Sarah. And so I thought me or Michele were going home that night. And that's why you can visually see I was like crying when I played my idol because I was like, oh my God, what if they wrote Michele and not me? But I cannot play this idol for somebody else because then what if I go home?
Right.
So yeah, there was way more of a bond. And I just thought that what she had said, like it hits, like maybe because I'm just so much about, I understood what Sarah was talking about. Me and Michele and we would thought that she was on board to help us at the end and just be team us three, you know, like way more than it seemed.
Definitely. Yeah. Because I thought there had to be something else there because you guys chose to keep Sarah over Denise as well. So that makes more sense now. And so do you have would you change anything? Any moves that you would have changed or in the game?
I mean, I guess voting out Sarah instead of Denise, but on the flip side, Denise would have never flipped on Ben. So we were like, it was like a rock and a hard place. But the biggest decision that I wish I had done at this point is not trust Sarah to beat Tony and just stepped in and done fire myself. I don't feel like I needed to do that, but now seeing the way the jury voted and seeing that Sarah didn't have the balls to just beat him, I wish I just been like, you know, I'm going to make fire and I'm going to risk it all or I'm going to win it all. Like, because I know if I made fire, I would have won. So, but I was just and I've said this, and maybe it's me just trying to protect how I'm dealing with this right now because it is hard to lose $2 million. But I think that I was just so mentally and physically exhausted that I was really nervous about putting myself in fire and like not winning. And then I had done all this work to get to the end, but then not make final three would have sucked so much.
Oh, for sure.
So I was just like I was just drained so much after my whole journey that I just didn't step up. And that's the only thing that I'm going to have to eventually make peace with is try and embrace my journey to the end, even though the end outcome wasn't what I wanted, you know, and not making fire.
Yeah, and it is really hard. You have a guaranteed spot in final three, and then you're going to give that you're going to maybe give that up just to make fire, to build your resume that you might not even have to build because it already might be high enough. You don't know. And so you have to decide that decision. And it's crazy how you can give your like immunity to somebody else and go into battle. Yeah. I don't think that I could ever give up that final three spot if I know I have it.
I thought my chances with the jury were way better than they were. So you have to think, like, I was like, no, I definitely have this person's vote, and it wasn't the case. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know what? Money comes and goes, but obviously $2 million hard pill to swallow.
Whose votes were you thinking that you had that you didn't get?
Well, I definitely thought I had Danny's and Amber's. I didn't know about Boston Rob, but I thought he would vote for me. So those are 3 votes that I definitely thought would have gone my way. And then I was on the fence with Kim and Sophie. We had spent a lot of time at the Edge together since they came back. But I also understand that they were with Tony and the main beach for a long time. So those are the 3 votes that I was just like, what? Especially Danny's and Amber's. Amber's more probably. So I thought those were guaranteed. And I knew Tyson had voted for me because he told me, and the way he was at Tribal, he spoke up for me and stuff. And I kind of knew Ethan voted for me. But those are the three that I'm just like, huh?
Yeah, you played one hell of a game, and you should be so proud. And it was the best season ever that I've ever watched. It was, I mean, I wanted you to back in there so bad. And they like teased us with, you know, you were stuck in the ropes for so long.
I was such an idiot.
I'm like, get out of those ropes.
I don't know what I did.
I'm like, they tied hers tighter. They did something like,
I don't know what they did. Oh my God. I was like, how am I getting tripped up on this? And then I fell, and then I had to go back twice. They don't show it, but I had like one of the ropes had fallen down. So I had to go back twice. And I was like, and then I don't know how I stayed so calm because I had given up my lead. At this point, I could hear Tyson. So I was actually happy that Tyson was doing well because I was like, okay, at least my idol isn't going to shit. But I did not want to lose to Wendell. So I was like, Natalie, get your shit together, take a deep breath, and land these fucking balls in.
Oh, man, you are such an inspiration. Thank you so much for coming on this show.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to watch you, hopefully on Big Brother and back on Survivor.
Yeah, hopefully I see you on Survivor. Are you guys down if they call?
Yeah, we'd be down.
you?
We would be.
Yeah.
I think so.
People always ask me about Big Brother, and it's you have all the comforts, but it's like paradise prison versus like Survivor, you know? So it's like being stuck in this prison that's like, you know, has a gym, has all the good stuff, but it's a different mindset. So we'll see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming on, and have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be watching your your live tonight, so I'm excited.
Oh, cute.
Okay.
Yay. All right. We'll talk all the shit.
Bye,
guys.
Bye. That was a lot of fun, and I really think, Nicole, you should consider applying for Survivor, because I think, and I've always said this.
You just think I'd be entertaining.
Oh, heck yes. And then you might win, right? There's always that. But I think it would be so entertaining, and I would love to watch you on there.
I think the same about you. But you wouldn't be entertaining. You'd be the entertaining because you would like win stuff. But
you just said I wouldn't be. I cannot believe you said I would not be entertaining.
No, you'd be all game.
Wow. But no, they were great, Natalie and Michele. That those were fun conversations.
Yeah, thank you for joining us on this Survivor special.
Nicole was all geeked up and excited about this one,
I wish we could do like a Survivor. I'm really sad that Survivor isn't on tonight. Today's Wednesday for me. And it's like, what the heck? What am I going to do tonight? I'm so upset.
All right, so Nicole, I got a Spanish word of the day. This one, so easy.
Survivor.
Well, now I can't do it.
Was that what it was?
It was going to be.
I got it without you even saying the word. All right, so now we'll go on to...
So, but the word survivor is sobrevivir. Sobre?
Dang it, I should have just kept my dang mouth shut.
Yeah, you should have kept your mouth shut. That's what you get. Mm-hmm. You see? So yeah, survivor was the Spanish word of the day, which is sobrevivir. All right, so what is your weird or normal since you're...
Oh, you're really skipping it?
I'm going to skip it now. I'm stubborn.
Oh my gosh. This is like so typical.
No, but just go ahead. What do you got?
Okay, so earlier we brought up the pickled eggs thing, and my mom was talking about something last night that she thought that is weird that we do. So
that you and me do?
Yeah, because you said I brought a pickled egg to the bedroom.
Uh-huh.
My mom thinks it's really weird to eat anything in the bedroom. Like you should eat at the table or in the kitchen or... maybe even in the living room, but never take like food to your bedroom. And it's something that I just started to do in college because my best friend / roommate did. And it was like normal to study and snack. But as a child, like I never took food into my bedroom. And you do it too.
I do it, but I am, it's a catch-22 for me, right? Because I take it to the bedroom, but I can't, and not that I can't enjoy it as much, but I'm very cautious. I'm very cautious because which makes it hard for me to see you eat in the bed, which is hypocritical
I
of
shouldn't
me.
eat in the bed.
Because you're very messy and clumsy
like,
and all that.
It is
kind
of gross when I think about it.
And I'm just like, oh, babe, can you just... Because like when I eat chips in bed, I put like my mouth over the chip bag. So if crumbs fall, they fall right back into the bag, right? It's not a big deal. But you'll hold chips just with your finger and eat one chip at a time. And it's like, well, there's 100% crumbs falling into the bed right now. You know what I mean? Like you can't avoid that. Or you'll have a pickled egg you have pickled stuff on your finger. You don't have a napkin.
Okay, you're making me sound disgusting.
I'm just saying, right? That's the things that go through my mind. So
yeah, I'm gonna stop eating in the bedroom because I don't think it's like good for my like weight and health.
okay, maybe I'll stop eating in the bedroom too.
The only reason I eat in the bedroom is because I'm watching something on TV or I'm alone and like I don't want to be in the big common area by myself.
Yeah, I think a lot of people eat in the bedroom though. I don't think it's as weird as your mom thinks.
I mean, growing up, I never, ever, which is because. I don't know. I guess I wasn't a big snacker back then.
Yeah.
But now it's like snacks.
I am a huge snacker.
You got me hooked on chips and crap and like candy bars and oh my gosh.
Oh, life is so terrible. Oh no.
No, I just need, I'm trying to get in shape for my wedding.
Okay.
My wedding, not your wedding. I'm trying to get in shape for my wedding. So.
Will I be invited?
No.
Okay. Well, tell your husband I said hello.
Oh my God.
Okay, so now we're going to read the review that we chose because you guys are awesome and we thank you and we really appreciate you. Take it away.
This one's from Natty, and it's called Amazing 5 Stars. I absolutely love this podcast. Nicole has always been my favorite Big Brother player because of her relatable and fun personality. Thank you. Nicole and Victor have such fun banter, and I enjoy listening to their interviews with a wide range of guests. I listen in every week and even listen to the episodes with guests I've never heard of. I always learn something new because of Nick and Vic's excellent interview skills.
Ooh.
They make my week and every week when there is a new episode. Hold on.
Okay,
I
sorry.
read something wrong.
Nicole
I think.
skipped something maybe.
They make my week every week when there is a new episode and are helping me get through this pandemic. I can't wait to see what else is in store for them. Thank you.
That was a really nice review.
I love that.
We try to do our best
you know what
in interviewing. What happened?
When I'm reading reviews, I like, in my mind, I have like this little like negative guy that's like, you're going to screw up, you're going to screw up, you're going to screw up like the whole time. And I've been trying to be like, I'm going to read this like really flawlessly. Mm-hmm. And then that freaking happened. But I've been doing better because,
you have been.
You know, like when you're reading out loud in school and high school, they like make you read and you're just like, oh my gosh. Like,
You know, that's it. And now that I think about that, now that you're saying that, that is kind of weird to do. Like,
what?
All right, you read to this point and then the next person
Yeah,
reads
you
to this
absorb
point, next person
nothing.
read to this point. It's like, all right, all I'm focused on is my turn to read.
Exactly. You're not listening to what's being said. You're not absorbing what you're reading. You're just trying not to mispronounce a word so that everyone thinks you're like...
And then you hear in the background when you mess up on something...
and I would psych myself out so much that I would 100% mess up.
Yeah, on a completely unrelated
Sorry,
note,
this was
talking
just-
about school, right?
Yeah.
I read this tweet that somebody posted. It was hilarious. This guy, this adult, he went to go set up a Zoom class for his son.
Oh, yeah, this is so...
And he said he didn't have his shirt on. And so he started and he heard like 15 little kids go, eee.
That's hilarious. What about the kid? I thought you were going to bring up the this kid is in school and he took a video of himself just like sitting in...
He has a video on his phone of him sitting like watching a class, but it's like a looping video, right? So let's say it's like 20 seconds and he just has it on a loop. And then he puts that video on his phone close enough to the camera of his computer so it looks like he's sitting there in class.
It's like brilliant. It's like brilliant.
Yeah, that is
Except
hilarious.
for the thing
we
is
don't
like,
condone that though.
No, we don't. And also the thing is like, does he always wear the same shirt? You know what I mean?
That's hilarious though. But
So-
who's really looking at the small squares?
Well,
Because
now I'm going to be I would check out everybody's shirts, see who's doing it.
Well, thank you guys so much. Please rate, review, and subscribe. The easiest way to do that is on Apple Podcasts. You can listen to this podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. You can always go to www.cococalientepodcast.com. You can listen there and you can check out our merchandise as well. Don't forget to follow us at Coco Caliente Podcast on Instagram and at Coco Caliente Pod on Twitter.
Thank you.
Thank you.